First question is, how many of you have been to some hospital because of yourself or your family members or some friends or neighbors? Almost everyone. And I think if you look from the eyes of someone who has, let's say, who was born, let's say, 100 years back, and think about the current ICU or the operation theater, it will look virtually like a science fiction to them. It's like science fiction. You look at the kind of gadgets which are there. So healthcare depends a lot on medical devices today, what you call as MedTech. And that MedTech in some sense relies on medical device innovation. And that's where the problem starts. The moment you say innovation and you want to make it a business out of that and commercialize that, it is a challenge, you know that. You say hardware innovation or a device innovation, is a double challenge. Who is going to buy that? Who is going to put money on that? And if you say medical device innovation, boy, you are in trouble. Okay? I mean, which doctor will take a device from a new startup company by some young people and put the life of their patients in danger? No one will do that. So it's really very tough, really very foolish. Okay? And therefore, I want to tell you the story of three foolish people. I'm just remembering Three Idiots movie, okay, but this is three foolish people who just plunged into that. They didn't know where they were going, and this is, I think that's why the story is worth telling. The first one in this story is Tapas. He is from Dehradun, and at that point of the story, he was in Intel Hyderabad. He is an electronics engineer. The second person in the story in the middle is Dr. Nambi Raj. He is an anesthetist in a rural hospital, middle of Bombay and Goa. And the third person is Adarsha, and he actually hails from very close to this place, a place called Koppa near Sringeri. And he, at the time of the story, was working like a software engineer in L&T Hyderabad. Now, these people had not met each other. They didn't know each other. They met for the first time, all three of them, in an event called as Medha. We do a medical device hackathon at that point in IIT Bombay, and we just put random people together. We give random problems to them to solve and see what comes out of them in 4 days and 3 nights. They literally work night and day for 3-4 days. So in the first picture you see Dr. Nambiraj holding the mic, and he's telling that when I'm in a rural hospital and a patient comes to me and I put the stethoscope on the chest and I'm hearing the heart sound or the heart or the lung sound. This is called as auscultation, hearing the sounds of chest. So when I'm hearing the sounds of heart or the lung, and somehow I hear a sound which I have never heard in my life before, and I have to take a call, is it a serious matter or a light matter? How do I do? I want to send the patient to the city for a second opinion. But these rural patients don't want to go to city. It's expensive, it takes a day off. You know, you have to go in a bus, you have to stay somewhere. They just don't like to go to cities, at least old people. And therefore, this doctor is saying that instead of sending the patient to city for a second opinion, can I send the sound of the patient's chest auscultation to the city doctor? That was the problem he's talking about. And the other two sitting next to him, Tapas and Adarsha, Tapas I think in the white shirt and Adarsha in the lined t-shirt, they said, okay, we want to work in this problem. And 3 nights and 4 days later, on the final day, they make a presentation where they had taken a normal stethoscope, put it apart. They put some analog to digital converter, which is called ADC in engineering language. And then that digital signal, they are processing that, pushing into a computer, from computer to internet to the speakers in the hall. And everyone could hear the heartbeat of Tapas's chest. So that was interesting. They won the prize and then they go back to their jobs. Okay, life is same. After 6 months, I get 2 separate phone calls from Tapas and others. Sir, life mein maja nahi aa raha hai. Okay, can we do something about it? Can we take our innovation forward? And believe me, I am waiting for the phone call. Okay, and I said, "Aajao, dekhenge kya hoga." Okay, so they come to IIT Bombay. And I tell them, okay, I'll pay you a little bit of money. It's not going to be your salary. They were earning pretty good. Intel and L&T pay pretty well. So I was hardly able to pay them some projects money, which is like 1/3 or something like that. But I told them, you're not going to invent on day one. I want to spend 6 months in hospitals, talking to the doctors, watching what they do with stethoscopes, in case you want to work on stethoscope. Stethoscope is beaten to death. Everyone uses that. Even an orthopedic surgeon who has nothing to do with hearing the sounds, he'll put a stethoscope because that is his identity. I think everyone has an identity. Lawyers have, doctors have, soldiers have, only engineers don't have an identity, I think. Anyway, so they said, don't take away our identity. We want to wear the stethoscope. It should look like a stethoscope. Because these guys were saying that, sir, we can improve the sound, we can clear the noise, we can make it, we can do some analytics. They said, okay, but don't give me headphones. Imagine I'm putting headphones listening to the previous patient sounds. The next patient walks in, he said, doctor, the music sun raha hai, right? You don't want to take away the identity of the doctor. So they got a lot of insights like this. When they talked to the doctors, 6 months, they looked at Bombay, Pune, Ahmedabad, they went to a lot of hospitals. Finally, they started discussing and developing the device. So from the first proof of concept, which they did it in that hackathon, it took about an year to develop the first working prototype. But working prototype is not something you can use. What is called as an alpha prototype, beta prototype, a MVP or a minimum viable product. And then they also developed the software where you can see the sound, analyze the sound, a software which can even help the doctors in trying to figure out what is right and wrong. So all this took about a couple of years. And they also filed a patent, which of course at that point patents used to take a lot of time to get granted. But eventually they filed a patent in 7 territories, USA, Europe, Australia, Singapore and so on. And then they also went to a government entity called as BIRAC. And BIRAC has one of the most competitive granting things, about 50 lakh rupees or 5 million rupees. But very heavy competition, 800 people apply, about 20-30 people get this award. These people got the award, 50 lakh rupees. With that, they started a company in the business incubator of IIT Bombay called Sign. And you can see Tapas Adarsha in the front row, 2 founders, and they hired some more engineers. And then the journey started. That is the beginning, and that's the easy part of any business, okay? The real point is that how do you get customers? And before they even could start marketing, COVID hit. And that was complete disaster for them, okay? But they thought through. What they said is, instead of trying to have a normal stethoscope, they split the stethoscope into what is called an earpiece, which goes into the doctor's head or ears, and a chest piece which sits on the patient's chest. They split the two things, put a Bluetooth between them. So in COVID time, the doctor could be in some other room, maybe even in doctor himself has COVID and doctor is in the bed, but he says, I'm functioning pretty well, I can help the patients. So patient could be in some other room, the nurse or patient himself is putting the, let's say, stethoscope on the chest, and the doctor is able to hear that, okay, this patient, okay, maybe move him into the ICU, or maybe this patient seems to be fine, move the person out of ICU, because ICU is very in short demand, short supply, if you remember at that point of time. So a lot of orders came, they made a lot of friends among the fraternity, and that was a good starting point for them, for the business. Once COVID stopped, they started going to all kinds of health camps. There was one health camp, I think in the middle or the last one which you see, where there were about 10,000 rural patients getting screened for various ailments which could be detected by stethoscope. I remember one patient was having a heart attack, and they could immediately move the patient into ambulance and save a life also. So that was a very good test by fire. Literally, they are looking at thousands of patients and seeing how the thing works. And doctors are giving comments to them all the time, how does it work? Improving it continuously. So end of the thing, within about 5 years time, from the hackathon where they met each other and tried to reinvent the stethoscope, to a situation where they were able to sell. I think this year they'll be selling a total cumulative about 12,000 units. And not only that, they made it to Harvard Business Review. If you can just go to HBR library and say BETIC stethoscope case study, you will look it up. And I am told it is one of the most downloaded and most selling case study in Harvard. If you go to Harvard, look it up. Even you can do it from internet. Then Shark Tank happened, and these guys got called to Shark Tank. And then they could raise good amount of money, very well appreciated by the sharks. It was Shark Tank number 2. And that was again a very good publicity. Shark Tank gives you instant fame, and that which lasts for about 3 or 4 months. But in that 3-4 months, they were able to penetrate many more markets, almost all over the country. Many rural hospitals now have the stethoscope where it is being used for telemedicine. Rural patients don't have to go to city. City doctors can it's a digital stethoscope. They are converting and then sending it, storing it, and so on. So all that is good. That was one innovation, but that gave us a lot of encouragement and support and motivation to start talking to many more doctors. Obviously, doctor will be very happy in a hospital, and then some other doctor will say maybe geriatrics or maybe ophthalmology or something else. Oh, this is interesting. I have a problem. Can I go to this group and get it solved? So by word of mouth, before we knew, we had 100, 150, 200 doctors across the country coming to us saying that, can you solve our problem? We have an idea, there is no solution. So these are some of the pictures where you see an engineer, a doctor, and some of the pictures you also see a patient. It was a beautiful journey for us, very energetic. We were waiting for the day to start. We wouldn't wait for the day to end. We were 24/7. A lot of innovations happened. By the time, and we learned a lot of lessons in the whole thing. The main lessons we learned from the whole thing is that what is called as a problem solution fit. I mean, are we solving a problem which exists or not? How do you know it exists? Go and talk to people. For every project, we started talking to 100 doctors eventually to get the evidence that problem is really there. And then you also look at what's called as your product market fit. You have dream up a solution, but how do you know that customer is going to like it? You can say that customers will line up and buy, but until they actually line up and buy, it's not a successful story. So you need to make sure that you have great value. Is it not just 5-10% better? Is it 50%, 100%, 5x, 10x better, faster, easier, less side effects? Then maybe you have some hope. But then after that, you also have to worry about, is it manufacturable? And classically in engineering, we can dream up any design, but finally it has to be produced with the right quality and right price. So that is your design for manufacturing fit. And finally, is a team itself having a fit among itself? The founder investor or the founder partner. These people have to get together. One of the reasons why startups fail in India is that the two founders like each other. They are exactly replica of each other, twins. That doesn't work in business. In business, you need complementary strengths. One is good at R&D, one is good at sales, one is good at operations, one is good at managing people. You need complementary skills. So as you go ahead, any one of you thinking about business, keep thinking about these 4 lessons that we learned with a lot of difficulties after a lot of failures in the last 10 years. But end of that, thanks to all these experiments, thanks to the great team I was able to develop, most of my engineers were from small towns, tier 2, tier 4, tier 3 towns. Many of them could not speak English properly, but that doesn't matter. They were committed to solving the problem. And thanks to them, now today we have about 22, 25 startups all over the country. One more company has made it to Shark Tank. One more may actually make it. And they have collectively raised, I think, 10, 20 crores of rupees. And they are on a journey. About 15 products are already in the market. And our estimation is that we have touched about 10 million or 1 crore patients already. It's a very happy life, very satisfying for a faculty like me who do teaching only to be able to touch real lives of real people. So this is my journey in brief, focusing on the journey of those 3 young people. But today we have about 100 champions who can pretty much do anything, pick up any problem, any doctor can walk in, and the kind of processes and the system that we have set in the institute at IIT Bombay are now enabling touching many more lives through many more champions like this. But I hope there's something interesting, something useful for all of you. Thank you very much.